Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by The Plain Truth, Spurs Schemo, Jose, and Arwin. Good to have you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello, what?
Hello.
Housekeeping at all, Nathan?
Say again, Spurs?
Housekeeping?
Housekeeping, indeed. Any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
No.
Good to have you. Is that Adam?
Hey.
Hi, Nathan. Afternoon, guys.
Hello.
Great stream yesterday.
Cheers, dude.
Any signs of axial rotation? You've caught us in the middle of housekeeping, unless you've got some signs of curvature, Adam.
We're vacuuming here.
Sorry, guys. None here.
No? Right, axial rotation of the Earth-based variety.
No, not quite.
No. Went to try and get a second-hand bike this morning. That had actual rotation, but again, not Earth-based.
I see. That's why I had that little caveat. It is a flat Earth debate after all. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No, not that. No.
There is no distance to the sun.
About gas pressure without a container. Any signs of that?
Never.
Not gas pressure.
Or a
That.
sausage.
Mumble. What was that?
No, not
Not a
quite.
sausage.
Kind of hearing vague signs of no. Am I right?
No.
Okay, what about scientific evidence of gravity?
Oh, gravity. A sign, possibly. Something to look
Scientific
at, something
evidence.
to consider.
Specifically scientific evidence.
But the sign, in terms of a sign, if you can call that a sign, would be that of the global expedition of astronauts hanging upside down and blood not rushing to their head. They would say, well, why isn't his face going red? Why isn't the blood rushing to his head? So they pulled up a video and they said, this proves gravity. So let me just share my screen so we can get a look at what they believe is a sign.
Right,
But I think, have a look at it first. Do you see my screen?
Okay, let's have a look. Okay, you're up. So we've got the inside of
we'll
the
just play,
ISS
play the
studio.
video from about here and see what happens, and then we'll get a review. Well, because this is their sign. This is what they believe proves a force. Okay, so we see the astronaut appears to be upside down, and they were like, "Wow, look at this astronaut. He's upside down. If there was no force, or the force has been eliminated, the blood would be rushing to his head. He would incur lots and lots of problems and issues." And they were convinced, they were jumping all over this piece of footage. So I'll just stop it right there. Any thoughts?
Yeah, just straight off the bat, anybody who wants to see this thoroughly debunked, go and watch Dilly Gill or any making of the Gravity film.
Mhm. Yeah, Arwen?
Sorry, I'm typing something.
So Dillygill, Dilly Gill, who takes apart how they do this. NASA are on the cutting edge of cinematography, not
Right.
space exploration. Space doesn't exist. We covered that in housekeeping. You can't have a gas pressure without a container. So the vacuum of space, nonsense. This is just good cinematography. If you want to know how they do the floating trick, go and watch how they made the film Gravity. High wire. Very simple.
Okay. Arwen, you wanna chime in and give your view on if you think why the blood is not rushing towards his head? Well, first of all, do you believe he's upside down? Do you believe he's up there?
Well, you'd need to check whether or not it was him upside down or maybe just the camera upside down. So he could be dangling right way up with the camera turned upside down. In other words,
Absolutely.
where he is now, the ropes are going up as far as you're concerned if we're going to claim it. Well, what about if they were going down and the camera was just upside down? So he's hanging right way up, the camera's upside down. We'd no way of knowing, would we? Shame that.
I mean, if you look now, I would suggest that the cameraman is upside down.
Yeah, that white towel's hanging down, look, at the top of the screen. It's just going out of shot, but that white towel's hanging upside down.
This here.
Oh, it's-
Yeah.
Aren't they at this point just using the really advanced Hollywood techniques?
Yes,
Of
they are
basically
on the cutting edge
they
of
suspend
cinematography.
at a
Yes.
rope and they rotate the room to their convenience and all that shit. Like just like in the Gravity movie and what's it called again?
Exactamundo.
There's this perfect example for it. Hold on, I can't figure out the name. I'll look it up.
Dilly Gill.
But it's not even a
Get
space-related
Dilly Gill.
movie, but they do the same tricks in that movie. It's very famous. What's
Yeah,
his name
like
again?
I say, if you want to see how they do this, all the way back from the STS missions when they were using the space shuttle as a zero-G plane, then check out Dilly Gill, Dillyggill. He takes it apart. I might even
Look at
pick
them
out one of his...
shoes.
Go on, sorry, Adam.
Look at them shoes.
They're socks, aren't they?
On this.
They're all lined up nicely, aren't they? No, on the ceiling
Yeah.
floor, whatever.
Yes.
Like it's like at your front door.
Right.
But they would appear to have some force holding them there. Look, they're not floating. They're all in
Be glued to the
position.
ceiling for all we
Where they
know.
do.
They could be glued there. You just don't know.
Yeah.
That was a good spot there. I didn't even see that. But I think the cameraman is playing camera tricks. I think he's just turning the camera. I think he's the right way up the majority of the time. And the cameraman is actually turning.
I meant Inception, by the way. They have a scene where basically the entire hotel is spinning around a person and he's actually fighting that person, like and on the wall and then on the ceiling. And I think they are using a similar type of setup. So it's partially strings and partially just good choreography.
Okay, so just before I put this down, this is the sign of gravity. Do you accept, guys, as this being a sign of gravity? Because at this moment here, the blood on Earth, as we all know, would be rushing towards his head. His face would be red, and obviously he wouldn't be as comfortable as he is now. So this is a sign for the ball earthers. Is it a sign? Is it a sign for the flat earthers? Also?
Okay, if I was to assert to you,
Shouldn't even be
showing
like
you,
that.
hold on,
Even
Owen. If I showed you a clip from Gravity and said that rockets work in space because Sandra Bullock's using a fire extinguisher to propel herself backwards, would you say that that's evidence and proof that jets work in a vacuum?
No, of course not. But I'm just saying that their argument is that, well, look. I mean, obviously, like I said, I could just say, well, how do you know they're up there? This is in an aircraft. But their argument is that this here, this is, he's upside down. The question is he upside down? Is what I'm trying to ask.
Maybe. You don't know. You don't know how it's actually orientated, how the studio they're in is orientated. You don't know exactly what they're doing. But if they are literally floating in a zero-G environment, which could be achieved with the dropping plane, then yeah, their blood will naturally redistribute itself in their body, rushing on average more up to the head than usual, which is what happens.
Jose, what do you make of this? I don't know if you have an opinion on whether you believe he's upside down or the whole thing is just a sham. You know, Jose here.
It's all like a Hollywood production. It's all BS. I call BS to all of it.
Okay, so good. Yeah, I
I
mean,
think that is the point, Spurs. The only relevant question at the moment for this video is it genuine?
mhm.
And until that's kind of settled, really, any inferences you want to draw from it are debatable from whatever you're seeing. And the sad thing is, it is debatable. Well,
You
look at
just
them
want to know
shoes,
how
man.
they
Is
did
it?
it, basically.
All right, so I'll just leave that out there. That was a sign, Nathan. So I don't know if it's you know, a false sign or whatever. But
How long does this clip last in total?
this is
The one shot.
what you want to watch. Shall I go back?
No, just how long does the entire shot last? From cut to cut, basically.
I really don't know. I haven't looked. So it's like 4 minutes.
That's another pretense, Arwin, isn't it? That the ballers use with this, that it's a single shot, as if slick editing doesn't exist.
Well, yeah, they could, but it would be very difficult because they would basically have to transit from a diving plane back to stationary without basically the guy squashing into the wall or something. They'd have to
Have you
plan
seen
it
the
out
musical
very
video?
carefully to
Have you
do
seen the
something like
music
that.
video? Very, they did it in one of those planes, and you can see the whole music video, and they are all floating and doing all
Look
this
at the
kind of
action
tricks.
of
You
that.
don't see any kind of cuts, and they are like 20 cuts, and as they say, how they made the video.
Oh, this is not a live filmed thing, you mean? This is just a recording? Because if it's just a
I think.
recording, yeah, then they can edit it however they like. I thought it was a live recording.
But how do we know it's live or not? Because they can be feeding me something and they say, "Oh yeah, we're live from the International Space Station." How do we know this wasn't take last year and they edited 20 times over?
Well, because of an interaction with observers. Like, if you would ask them questions and they would
Yeah, maybe
actually
a server
respond.
like you, me, or
Unless you,
somebody real.
unless you're given a list as to what you can ask, yeah, then becomes kind of suspicious.
Okay, so I've shared a video which is by Dilly Gill, and it's probably his most concise explanation for the progression of cinematography at NASA. So he breaks it all down in about, I don't know, 7 minutes. Don't get me wrong, it's not the most detailed explanation because it's just concise for people with a short attention span, but it's like his second to last video that he made. And it is called... I've stuck the link in the chat for anybody who wants to just go straight there. Just go and subscribe to him. He's, an excellent videographer. Just an excellent YouTuber. One Small Step Nearer the Truth, it's called. So Flat Earth, One Small Step Nearer to the Truth. And it's actually the video that's playing on screen now, so you can get an idea of what he's showing. So this is people currently in freefall. This is actual freefall footage. So this is them in what people call weightless freefall, 0G, whatever you want to reference it. As the plane descends, this person is actually falling, but the rate of the plane he is falling at the same rate he is. Therefore, he is in free fall 0G in reference to the plane. So there's no weight acting on him. So he is actually falling. He's hurtling towards the ground. Hold on, Alwyn. He's hurtling towards the ground in this clip, but because you can't see the ground, you can only see the plane that he's in. Then it doesn't look like he is. It looks like he's floating. But then when they move over to the actual, let's just clip his example of a magic trick and move on to, explains about crapovision being used for live studio audience, and the moon landings is a good example of crapovision. So it gives a brief explanation of that. But he's showing you the comparison between actual 0G footage when they were filming in free fall compared to modern ISS style footage where they're on high wire. So this guy's not showing the effects of really easy, effortless moving. He's got 2 guys around him helping him.
This is that kind of setup wherein they demonstrated to me in school, like how in a free fall plane, how basically matter, like a bubble of water will just sit there and all that. It looked with this camera quality even, so must be from that same period.
So the house is clean then. There is no sign of gravity. We've
Oh
seen
yeah, there is absolutely. It's just you can't prove it scientifically, but it's
But
all over the place. The very foundational laws of thermodynamics demand it.
No, there's no sign of a pulling force.
There is sign of motion. There is
No,
sign
yeah,
of
well-
a force being applied. Absolutely, because if there's something moving, if there's displacement, then that displacement, like a chain in a link, has to come from somewhere. So it has to either start up mechanically or chemically, or it has to come from something else. It's very simple.
I think one of the problems is gravity under a dome, but that's assuming there is a dome. But I mean, how would gravity work on a flat Earth in an
Exactly
open
the
system?
same.
Yeah, but I mean,
Goes down.
let's suppose both variants. Would it work on an open flat Earth system or in a enclosed? How would you describe it?
It has nothing to do with open or closed. It's just there. It's a force. We don't know what causes it. Since the Earth is absolutely not a ball, it's not gonna be sphere centric or that kind of nonsense. It's just universally in one direction. Why? Who knows? When you die, go and ask God. Okay, whatever. I don't know why. Probably will never find out. I just know what it is, how it works, and how to deduce it. That's all.
But it's still not science, is it? Because we don't have the cause.
Well, fuck science.
No need. I think we've seen
I don't
enough of
want to
Dilly
go
Gill,
down
so
there.
just check out Dilly Gill's videos. Very good. I've stuck his link in the side chat so people can see it and go and subscribe to him. But he gives a very concise explanation on that particular video, and he's got hours and hours and hours of other explanations in far more detail that you can check out if you wonder how they're faking the ISS.
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of when you die, ask God and close the quote Arwin quote. So because that's too deep. So I don't want to go there.
Well, I'm gonna ask.
Well, before we get
I
sidetracked,
kind of already did.
can we finish off housekeeping? So, is there any signs of a molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No. Nope.
No.
Nah.
No.
I thought I might presuppose it earlier on, but even if you presuppose the Earth is a globe, then there's still no evidence that there is a molten iron core at the center of it. So, no.
Fair enough. What about the R value itself? Any evidence of Earth radius?
There is an R value, but there's no evidence. There's no proof for it in the physical sense.
Anthony, how you doing?
Yo.
Cool. Well, that pretty much concludes the housekeeping. Terrible timing, Anthony.
No, perfect time.
Well, it depends on whether you're going to push the idea that we have a downwards force of some kind or not, I guess.
Yeah, and that's why I kicked you. And
Oh,
that's
so
why
is
I
that
lost.
so? You did
Oh,
get
so you
kicked.
did kick me. So that's
Yeah,
like
I
the
did.
third or the fourth
Because
time that you kicked me?
because you're gonna be shitty, like you want to. Because
And
you're
how
a
many
freaking
times have I ever
bully
kicked you?
lawyer piece of shit.
No need. Stop. Come
How
on.
many
Yeah,
times
me.
have I kicked
No,
you?
Well,
Arwin?
that's
Riley
ended
is a
fast.
lawyer bully piece of shit.
Stop it, Arwin,
I'll
or else
say
to
it
kick
How
us
as
for
many
many
swearing.
times
times as
have I
I
kicked
like
you,
because
Arwin?
it's true.
Arwin, answer me. How many times have I kicked you?
No, you're a lawyer bully
How many
piece
times?
of shit, and you can go fuck yourself.
How many
I'd like to
times
kick
have
you.
I kicked
I'm
you?
not gonna answer
Courage.
any of your questions ever again. Go
None,
fuck yourself.
Arwin.
Right, I'm gonna
Go
have to
fuck
kick you, Arwin.
yourself.
This is your last
Go
warning.
fuck yourself.
Right, Arwin, last warning. If you keep swearing, I'm just gonna have to kick you.
Come on, Alwyn,
Fine.
behave.
No,
Shut up,
I'm
Anthony.
not going to answer any of your freaking questions
No, I'm
ever
pleading with you.
again.
I'm trying not to get you kicked.
Because you're a shithead. Shut up.
God,
Don't
no.
talk
Well, I
to
might
me.
be.
Talk about flat Earth as much as you like. Talk about your project. Don't talk to me. Shut the freaking hell up.
Almost. So close.
I need to ask Alwyn a couple of questions.
No, you don't need to ask anything. You need to shut up.
Well, I heard
Hey,
you saying
guys,
that there was
Anthony,
evidence of.
There's a little post that Arwen stuck in the IRM chat from last night's show.
Not so little. It's kind of big.
Well, yeah, you do go on, but there's nothing wrong with that, mate.
No.
And I just think I'll read it. And for me, it's quite succinct. Arwen's position for me doesn't require any further clarity, so it might help.
Thank you.
All these flat earth and anti-gravity lyrics are getting old, and they will end up as a strong detriment to the movement. They may appeal to a cultural aspect that most flat earthers, mainly the gravity allergy, but it is only going to bite the entire movement in the arse and very hard in the end. Gravity, a universal force, disequilibrium in a singular direction, is real and widely deducible from the laws of energy conservation. Gravity is without doubt the cause of buoyancy effect and is the elusive cause that creates the mass-based pressures that fuels the motion of objects as they move up and down, as described by buoyancy. Without gravity, volumetric mass and density would have no significance whatsoever, and there would be no material displacement happening, seeking their density level, ever, except by local introduction through mechanical and chemical energy. So I understand your position, mate. I don't agree with it, but I do get it, and I don't expect to change your mind, is all I'd say.
So could you read that bit where it says in a single direction?
Unless you can present something better, that's
Yeah, I can.
not just like not necessary.
Yeah, I can.
Density
I
and
can
buoyancy.
I can do better.
It is a cause. It doesn't explain
So,
how it works.
When you don't realise that
cause.
when I'm on
Just a
Skype, I can speak
description,
over you and
because
you don't get
that's
heard.
not an alternative.
So can we have that line that he says about single direction again, please?
Give me a second, mate. Put my gigs back off. Okay, gravity is without a doubt the cause of the buoyancy effect and is the elusive cause that creates the mass-based pressures that fuels the motion of objects as they move up and down, as described by buoyancy.
Now, there was a bit where he said in a single direction. Towards the beginning.
And down. Yeah. That's right.
Got single direction.
Gravity pushes. It pushes everything that's heavy to displace everything that's lighter and not lower volumic mass. Gravity pushes lower volumic mass upwards by applying its force to everything that has a higher volumic mass that will push everything back.
You're talking gibberish again. Where can I find this quote?
Gravity both displaces things that are very low in volumic mass upwards, and it causes the displacement of the heavier volumic mass to outcrowd the lighter.
Still talking gibberish. Where can I find the quote? Adam, where can I find the quote?
If you go to Iron last night's show,
spam it with your crap again.
It's
freaking troll.
One of the few comments we've had. So,
I'll find it on there. Give me a
second. I
I
disagree with your deduction that you reach. I don't necessarily disagree with you that there isn't disprovably an additional force. I think the step where you go a bit too far for me is definitively ascribing that force as being something outside of the buoyancy. I still think it could be something that occurs within the buoyancy, because I see a need for down to be down as well. I don't want to get into directional debate.
It's not outside of buoyancy, it is the cause. It is what actually
probably
causes
something
the effect
going on.
to manifest.
I don't accept
that's the
gravity
problem,
the way we're told.
Take a step too far deduction wise.
Not too far.
I don't see the ability to go that far. Do you know what I mean? I do see the deduction that there could well be additional factors at play. But I think until you can get to the point of demonstrating that A, there's additional factors, and then B, trying to find where those additional factors are coming from. That's the bit where I think you jump too much to definitively state that there's this additional force.
Okay, so
It's not
let
an
me read
additional
the bit.
force.
Let me read the
It
bit that I've got
is
an issue with.
the force. It is
says-
the
I mean,
force.
Gravity.
outside of the
There's
density
no
buoyancy,
additional force.
I mean, additional to that.
Buoyancy is not a force. It's an effect. It's a description of a displacement.
And
caused
gravity's got
by
no evidence to
something
support
which
it.
has to
None.
be a force.
There is no evidence for gravity, Arwin. None. Just
Shut
your
the
nonsense
freaking
gravity.
hell up, man! Don't talk to me. Don't.
No, there's no evidence
talk
of it.
To me.
You can't
Don't
claim
care.
stuff without being
Go
able to prove
spam it
it.
in your own
Hold
freaking
on,
video.
hold on.
Don't
Arwen,
talk to me.
Hold on. Arwen, the reason housekeeping is any scientific evidence of gravity is because you're now saying it's a cause. Well, we have this very, very convenient method of establishing cause and effect relationships, but there is no scientific validity to you attributing it a cause.
Really? So what is the cause of the buoyancy effect?
There is no
I don't have
cause,
to come.
Arwen.
Hold on.
Oh, there is. Oh, beautiful. And there he throws it out. There is no cause. Well, guess what? It's not scientifically proven then, Riley.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
There's
but
no
that also
cause.
means it doesn't exist. Just a story. Right, let me pick on the bit that...
I think, Anthony, can I just
It
say that?
is
I think
just-
there is
Right.
there is the point that this is the difference for me, Arwen, and we can't definitively describe it all in terms of the effects of density and buoyancy. We can
I can.
demonstrate some of the effects of density and buoyancy and postulate why that's sufficient. The trouble I'm having is you're not able to postulate anything of substance that fills the void in terms of your analogy, and that's
and I
the
have.
disconnect for me.
I can and I have a lot.
Okay.
Lots of
Let me-
setups.
Let me respond to the quote that I
Entire
wanted to get
density and
back.
buoyancy ratio, the alignment is all the only thing outside of just a stationary setting and basically nothing. The only thing that actually is able to influence anything about the density and buoyancy alignment or anything about it is force being applied.
No,
Guess
no,
what? If you
no.
counter that
There
force,
is no
yeah.
satisfaction
Yeah,
of
the
the
alignment.
word
It is
force.
the only thing that can change
Look at
the alignment
look at
of
the word
it. It's
force,
the
Arwin.
only
It
thing.
requires a physical
Only
interaction, right?
thing that can
There is
change
no
the
physical
alignment of the
interaction.
density
You've just got
buoyancy
the density
ratio
itself,
is
nothing
force
more.
applying.
You're not listening to each other. You're just both talking at the same time.
Yeah, because I can speak over Arwin while
Doesn't
I'm on
matter.
Skype.
Try to listen to him. Same goes for you, Arwen.
No, he's talking nonsense.
Well, you need to pick it apart rather than talk
and
over
that's
it.
why I kick and block
Well, he won't
you.
let me get a word in because he
'Cause you
speaks
never
continuously.
listen.
He creates
You
a
always
monologue,
do
and it's
and
not
shit
fair on
over
everybody else. Right, the point that he said that I disagree with, gravity, this is quoting, right, Sean Hufford, gravity, in brackets, a universal force, disequilibrium in a singular direction. Right, Arwin, are you familiar with Newton's third law? Yes or no?
Yeah.
For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So for every time you state that something goes down, something else goes up. Agree?
Yeah.
But you focus on the part of it that goes down, the 50% of the thing that goes down. The other 50% you ignore. Correct?
No, I don't. Absolutely not. What a ridiculous
So
statement.
every time something goes down, in any example, something else goes up. Agreed?
That's because there is a volume that has to be filled.
Who cares what the
because of
reason is? The
entropy.
point is...
So if something's going to move down through a medium, then that is going to displace literally the medium that it is sitting in. Yeah.
So when you've
That's
written
not the
gravity,
cause.
a
That's not the
universal
cause
force... Arwin,
of why the heavier is actually in need of
Arwin.
displacing in the first place.
Stop monologuing. Take a breath. When you
Monologuing,
say
how
gravity,
about letting me freaking answer your questions in short,
Yeah, but you're
under
routing.
30 seconds without interrupting?
it's a yes/no question.
Ass.
It's a yes/no question. When you say gravity, a universal force, disequilibrium in a singular direction, that isn't true, is it? Because Newton's third law states that something else goes in the opposite direction.
I'm not referring to the official gravity crappy explanation, the whole ball crap. I don't
Hold on. Stop.
apply
Stop.
that.
Hold
No,
on, Arwen.
it's
Hold on.
Newton's third law.
Arwen, he's quoting you verbatim.
Right. Well, I described it exact.
Right.
Yeah, but
so
you missed off the other part of it, which is
Anthony.
Newton's third law.
You're now saying I don't appeal to the official gravity story. He's not giving the official gravity story. He's giving your gravity story and quoting it verbatim.
And then contrasting it with Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah,
But
I
Arwin
know,
only
yeah.
focuses on the one direction of down, but there's an equal and opposite reaction going back up the other way.
I
But you
don't
never addressed
focus
that
on
bit.
down. What did you read
do.
in the description again?
Because you've said
Up
a
and
universal
down.
force in
Yeah,
a
you
singular
did. You
direction,
did it
but
just
it's not.
right
It's
now,
a dual.
not even 5
It goes
minutes
up
ago.
as well as down.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
There's
but you've
a
not said that,
force
have you? You keep
disequilibrium downward, and the motion that it causes is both up and down.
Not what you're telling people, though, is it?
Yeah, it is. It's just
No,
a
it's
more
not.
fine.
Hey,
You're always saying it's down. There's something that pulls things
description
down.
of the
How you
effect,
doing?
which is kind of complicated, especially for oafs like you.
So every time you mention something going down, every single time there is an equal and opposite going up, but you never mention that.
I do.
You've never once mentioned something going
If
back up
there's
unless I've
displacement,
prompted it.
there's counter displacement, of course.
No,
Nothing
you're saying,
can
right.
displace
So it's
without
not. It's not in
something
a
else
singular
displacing
direction,
in
then,
its
is it?
place.
So to quote you, Arwin, it's not in a singular direction as per your quote.
No, the force itself is in a singular direction, but the actual motion and displacements it causes is in two directions.
So for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So you're
Right.
saying that the action is a downward force, and that the reaction is the going back up the other way that you never tell anybody, but call it a singular downward force. Right?
Displacement in all its forms.
Yeah, in a singular
Natural
direction. No.
displacement. All the buoyancy density displacement, not mechanical based, chemical based displacement.
Here's the thing, though. Everything has got a mass, and we know we can measure the mass
really?
for everything. And when we put
Everything has a
liquids in
mass?
liquids, or we
Really?
put solids in liquids, we can tell what's going to happen based on the mass of the object, whether it'll go directionally up or down. But it's relative to the medium it's in. So you've got, on the one hand, you've got yourself saying that there is this directional disequilibrium universal force, and you can't quantify it, demonstrate it, or even you can't contrast it against the
Yeah, I
buoyancy or the density
Yes, I
of
can.
the pieces in question.
Stop claiming that I can't do things that I can.
Okay,
Stop
go
on.
making these false claims.
How
hold
do you
on,
distinguish?
Anthony. Hold on, Owen. Go on then. Prove it.
How do you distinguish your claim against the density that we can accurately predict, document,
It's very
and
simple.
record?
It's the cause. Your claim of density and buoyancy is only a description of an effect. It doesn't explain the cause. It doesn't give any causation
It
as
does.
to
The
where
cause
the
is
freaking
the mass.
energy is coming from
It is
at all.
the mass, the density of the object.
At all.
That is the cause.
It's not inherent motion energy. It's not force. It's not chemical. It's not mechanical. It's none of these things.
Gobbledygook.
It's not a
Gobbledygook,
cause.
Arwin. Everything's relative to the medium it's in. If it goes down, it's because it's got more density.
That's
If
not
it
an
goes up,
answer.
it's because it's got
not
less
a
density.
cause. It's
It
not
is
an
the
answer.
cause.
It's
We know
not
it's
a
the cause because
cause
we
for
can
the
manipulate
displacement.
it. We
It's
can
not
play
a
with it and
cause
make
for
it
the
do
motion.
things.
It's only a description of the motion and the displacement and how
No,
it
it's
works.
not.
Not
It's
a
the cause
cause.
because we can manipulate it, Arwin, and prove a direct causal
I know,
relationship.
lovely, isn't it? It's not a cause.
We
It's a
can
description
manipulate it
of
and
an
we can
effect.
prove a direct
It
causal
doesn't give the
relationship. As you
cause,
play
it
with
only
one, the
describes
other is affected.
how it works. How it works.
How?
Not why it
We
works,
do.
What
It's
causes it.
numerical,
It's not
Arwin.
in the
As the
description.
density increases, the rate that it falls will increase too. It's simple.
Goody. Good for
So
you,
why?
man.
So
You
why keep
described the
telling people
effect.
nonsense
You
that's not
didn't
true?
actually name the cause.
Yeah, it's called density.
No. Density
Yes.
is the effect. Buoyancy is
No,
the effect.
according
It's
to you.
not the cause. It's a description of
Only
the
according
motion,
to
of
you.
how that
Oh,
motion
Owen.
works, how the system works, not the cause.
Owen,
No,
this is where
the only cause is the density, Arwin. It says in all the material.
both
You just ignore it
guys.
because you want to hold on to gravity, like the fingernails on a window ledge as you're falling off the building.
So this is where I'd
Yeah,
kind of
cause. Just describing
differ a little bit,
how
Arwin.
motions.
You're saying it's not a cause,
Yeah.
and I would agree with you. I would say it's
An effect.
the cause for me. It's sufficient to state that that is part of the cause is the density. The bit of information that's missing for me is the reason of the orientation. Why is it that denser things tend to go in one direction and less dense things go in that direction? What is the causation of that orientation? That's the question for me, and that's why it doesn't necessarily.
And the answer
have
is
to
it's
have
relative
an
to the
additional
medium it's
force.
in.
It could be
Hold on, Anthony.
an additional explanation for the orientation.
Hold on.
It's very easy
Hold
to
on.
answer
Is that?
that.
Hold
It's just
on.
not
Hold on. Hold on.
scientific.
Is that in the same Chris or is that a different Chris?
Yeah,
Same Chris. I didn't hear the end of what.
it's the same one. Sorry, my computer restarted, and when I rejoined it, it had
No
two
worries.
of them.
I didn't hear what the end of your statement, Adam, because Anthony interrupted you. Both Arwen and Anthony are obviously a bit hot at the moment, which is understandable. But I didn't hear the end of what you said.
So those two are kind of, for me, I'm kind of sitting in the middle. Andy's saying it's sufficient cause, just the understanding of density and buoyancy, and Arwen's saying it's not a cause at all. I'm kind of sitting in the middle, saying, okay, we don't know the answer. So if it is just density and buoyancy, and it just is question is that denser things go down. I know that's what QE would tell me. It is so thing, but for me, it's the final piece in accepting just density and buoyancy would be to have an additional causation which determines the orientation of ordering. Okay, and
Correct.
I think that could have a secondary separate.
But the thing is, though,
and
the thing is, you've got to get it.
Could
You've got to
be
get it right.
Arwen's magical
For a moment,
force that causes that orientation. I think that's what he's suggesting.
Just think about it. And nobody, please, nobody interrupt me because I'm going to explain something very fine in detail here. If you're going to ask, what is causing the dropping of this rock, or what causes the balloon with helium to go up? Then, yeah, you're going to say, well, of course, it's density and buoyancy, because that is the cause of that displacement. That's true. It's because of the effect. But, yeah, why? Why does it do that? Why
Ipso facto.
does buoyancy work the way it does? Why does it in this alignment? Why? That is an actual cause. It's not the cause of the displacement.
No, that's utter garbage,
buoyancy.
Darwin.
But what causes buoyancy? There is
It's
no
utter
answer
garbage.
to this.
Its own density. Its own density. And let me get something clear.
Circular reasoning. Something
No, it's
cannot
not circular
cause
reasoning.
itself.
It is the cause.
Circular reasoning.
Let me get something clear. When Adam said that when something goes down, the bit he forgot to say is that something else goes up as a consequence. Because when you realise that something goes up as well as something going down, yeah, sure, you see the brick falling, but that also sends the piece of air that the brick now occupies back up. That itself shows that it's a leveling situation.
And down is too subjective. It's reordering. It's reaching an equilibrium again. And like I say, for me, then in that reaching of the equilibrium, what is there a second? I'm happy with density and buoyancy being the causation of the ordering. I'm after the causation of the orientation of the ordering, and I still think it could be an additional force, or it could be, for me, the way I tend to see it is it's kind of the current of the earth and the sky that determines that orientation, and it's as simple as that. That then allows those density and buoyancy forces to then interact they have their direction of orientation. And again, that's just as mystical and non-provable as any of the other stuff. But for me, it sits in the middle of your two.
Nathan, do me a favour. Be prepared to share my screen. I want to bring up that flask thing that I always bring up with the layers on it. I want to ask Adam something. Not Arwen, just Adam, because I know what...
Nathan, you want me to leave? Because if you're going to allow this shit over and over again, I'm going to leave. So it's up to you, Nathan. You want me to leave?
I'm not asking you.
I'm asking Nathan. Shut up, Riley.
I can't control what you do, Arwen.
I just don't want to do that shit over and over again. I heard his explanation. I've heard it.
I don't care what you're
different
talking
ways.
About. I want to ask Adam.
I don't need to see that shit again.
Yeah, we do. I want to ask Adam a question.
Right. Okay, Adam, you're fine with that?
Of course, he's a big boy, Arwen.
I reckon I could take the question.
Go ahead.
Let me know when you can see.
Yeah, you're up.
Can you see Adam?
Yeah.
Right, this little cherry tomato that sits in position number 6. When you're talking about the extra force that might be required to give the order, do you agree that if you were to be inside the liquid with your hand and you were to pull this cherry tomato down or pull it up, you would have to exert a force to do that? Do you agree that that's what you'd have to do?
Yeah.
It would be a push or a pull,
yeah.
and that would satisfy the definition of force, right?
Yeah. If you're talking an additional force to cause direction, then yeah, but it affects everything, but it affects everything slightly differently based on the volumetric mass.
Do you agree that if you say, for example, pull it up, it'll go back down to the middle? Or do you agree that if you pulled it down, it would go back up to the middle and it would still find its settling point in the middle, right?
Yeah. If you apply an additional force to it and then remove that force, it will then seek equilibrium again.
Now, with regard, I deliberately didn't put any units on these numbers because you can ascribe any units to these you want. We'll call it 1 elephant, 2 elephant, 3 elephants, four crocodiles. You can call them anything you want, kilograms, whatever. It doesn't matter. They're relative to each other. But if you can agree that if you pull the cherry tomato down and then let go of it, it'll go back up to its resting point and stay there. And equally, if you pull it up and then let go of it, it'll go back down to the middle. This equilibrium that we now know is called neutral buoyancy is where the mass of the cherry tomato is equal to the density, the density of the cherry tomato is equal to the density in which the medium it's sat in is. So in other words, if it's in number 5, it's not got the same density. If it's in number 8, it's not got the same density, and it'll displace by virtue of that disequilibrium. Now, that's basically the cause and effect all wrapped up into one. The cause is a disequilibrium, and it will just naturally move. But if Arwin's going to, or anybody for that matter, argues that these things are always down or tendency to go down, this is not true, because you can pull this thing up and then it'll go down, or you can pull it down and then it'll go up. But
I want to say a quick shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat. Thank you very much for the super chat. Love is bombarding children's website with flat Earth. Fair enough, if you say so.
Yeah,
I don't think
describe the causation of the displacement in the form of buoyancy. That's very nice. Doesn't describe why it does what it does. Again,
density.
So conveniently, density
all these
is an element
Arwin.
about it. Density is
Arwin, these
part
numbers
of the
are the reason
displacement.
why.
It's not the cause of the effect.
Arwin, these numbers are the reasons why.
It's not
are you listening?
Why it sits like it does. It's
no, Arwin, pay attention. These numbers are the reason why. And if you apply a force to it and displace it somehow by pulling it up or down, whichever, these numbers are the reason why it does
Putting
it.
it in an accelerating
you
car.
Need force.
Yeah, guess
you need
what?
a
All these
force
layers are going to displace.
Physical
the alignment's
interaction,
going
a
to
pull
change.
or a push.
Yeah. Force applied, not a local object push. The entire thing in a total force, disequilibrium in another direction, in an accelerating car, whatever. Guess what? All these layers are all going to displace. The alignment's going to realign itself in accordance to the new balance of force disequilibrium.
No, not in accordance to the new balance of force disequilibrium. They're going to align themselves in order to their relative densities. That's what it's at. So this is a density value of 1.
Yeah.
This is a density value
guess what?
of 2.
The direction
and they will always go back
densities
to that.
is going to be in a very specific
the cause
direction.
is its own density.
Very interesting.
Hey, Chocolate.
It's not down or up anymore.
Fact.
Yo.
Not interesting. Fact.
Hey, Chocolate. Good to have you.
Chocolate. You want a break?
Morning, guys. Huh?
Shout out to Jenny Henry. Says, shout out to my darling Lenny. Ah, how sweet.
What's going on, guys?
So just to back on track this conversation, the Chocolate saying joined. None of this is moving, Arwin.
Can I stick another 2 pennies for that? Anthony, the way I'm seeing it is, and the question I still have is, if we just take that column there and look at it, it's clear that the denser stuff is, and the light stuff, it ordered in a particular direction. And if we agitate it, create a disequilibrium by adding additional
they're not
forces.
ordered in a particular direction. They're ordered relative to each other. That's the bit that everyone's getting wrong.
Right.
Order comes from the density of the objects itself. It says so in the neutral buoyancy definition. The density of the object or liquid relative to the mediums in which they sit. So these are all in the same medium of air. The air has a value which would be 0.0002 or whatever. That's why they're all heavier than it. But the order is formed by virtue of the density of the mediums, the density of the item in the medium in which it's in.
That orientation of ordering never changes. That is an accepted fact.
Yeah,
now,
it's caused by
we don't want to get into the semantics of the up and down, but if we can just accept that to the ground, the heavier stuff starts, and to the air, the lighter stuff starts. Yeah. So
no. Stop.
That's not the definition.
Stop. Lighter, heavier. Those terms are relevant only to a medium that they are in.
The ones with greater volumetric mass. Okay, we can predict. If we put two things together, we can say where they'll end up. Based on their volumetric
it's only relevant
mass.
to the two different things, right?
Yeah.
Right. So there's no down involved. That cherry tomato at 0.5 hasn't got the vaguest notion of up or down. It's not going up or down. It's staying static relative to its medium.
It is. Personal direction has absolutely no relevance in any kind of debate whatsoever, except where psychology is concerned.
So
let's look at the definition.
Talking about relative terms, up and down. Another shout out to Earth is seriously flat. Humanity exploded out of a chimp's butt? ? Globe doctrine. Okie dokie.
So we've got the definition of neutral buoyancy, and it states that it's a condition in which the physical body's average density, in this case the cherry tomato, is equal to the density of the fluid in which it's immersed. So if we go back to the thing, we've got the cherry tomato's density, not mass or any other word, density, in the relative to the fluid or the material or the medium in which it's in. So you've got the cherry tomato's density and relative to it, the medium it's in. And that's why it's in a state of neutral buoyancy. But if you pull it out of its neutrally buoyant position, it has a tendency to go up or down, not just down. And every time it does that, there is an equal and opposite reaction that Arwin never tells anybody about because he didn't realise.
I'm just going to do another shout out to legendary super looming perspective hijacking hyena, who says Dunwin Kruger, as in
take a vessel of 5 and a vessel of 8. What that cherry tomato will do, where it will sit. It will sit at the bottom of 5 and the top of 8. Yeah. So we can, with that, as Owen's saying, there is it. I think we're conflating two things here: the neutral buoyancy of the cherry tomato in 6 and discussing relativities of the columns, and it's confusing. If we're going to talk,
no. We're applying what we're doing.
It kind of demonstrates for me, really, that there aren't additional forces at play.
Correct.
And I can dig the semantics that Lawrence presents about a cancelling out of forces, but I don't see a cancelling out. I don't see any forces at play. I don't see, like with the analogy with the two trucks, you see the fact that the things aren't moving, but you see the effects of the forces in the strain in the rope. The forces are still visible. In neutral buoyancy, there isn't any of this conflict of opposing forces.
Yeah, there is.
Neutrally buoyant. Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's in equilibrium. The pressure is still there. It's in equilibrium. The pressure is still there. It's just in equilibrium. The force on all sides is in equilibrium, and that's why it keeps stationary. Just as if in a car driving, if your speed is constant, the forces are in equilibrium, and you will not feel any kind of push or pull anymore because you're at a constant speed. The forces are in an equilibrium. But
let's remember the definition of force,
neutral buoyancy, which is a condition.
Arwin, let's remember the definition of force. Force equals ma. So you've got to have an accelerating mass for you to have a force. But if everything's not moving, then you don't have an accelerating mass. You've just got a mass. So the definition, you can't have a force. if it's not moving. You can't have a net force either, because you've got to demonstrate the net force, and you can't do that.
I just want to do another shout out. Sorry to interrupt. Just a quick shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat, who says viscosity, density, and butter debunks globe doctrine. Thank you for the super chat. Earth is Seriously Flat.
It's that acceleration value that I find quite interesting. I'd like to see what physicists, how they explain that away, because if that's how this gravitational force is calculated, when it is, and this is why I say it seems to disappear, because if there is no acceleration, if it's then there is no force as previously described, the way it's expressing the force, which is that downward fall, the mass times the acceleration. So if you take that acceleration away, then the force does equal zero, as it's
No,
not
there's
got
no
any
force.
acceleration.
You can't have F equals
So
0.
I'd like
You
to
just
hear the
have,
explanation of why that is so.
you would if you haven't got a moving mass and accelerating mass, you don't have a force, because F equals ma. You've got to have the accelerating mass to have any chance of identifying a force, and that's subject to proving physicality. You can't just say that an accelerating mass is a force. You've got to prove that physical interaction, a push or a pull. So you can't infer it or deduce it. You've got to show it. It's physical, and there is no physicality with gravity, even if you could prove that there was a force there that you infer. But without an accelerating mass, you've just got a mass, no force.
And it's times zero, so it becomes zero. So the mass becomes
Your
irrelevant.
insight into basic physics is
Better than yours.
of that of a preschooler.
Arwin, do you disagree with force equals ma?
Oh, I don't.
No, you don't, did you say?
It's a very basic concept.
Right, so
It's an
if the cherry tomato is
oversimplification.
not, if the cherry tomato is not accelerating because it's in a state of neutral buoyancy, that means you can get rid of the acceleration part. That means you get rid of that. But if you haven't got that component, you haven't got this either. So then all you're left with is that. Do you understand that?
Be smarter and jump off the demonic spinning ball from Earth is Seriously Flat. Shout out to you for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed. Sorry to interrupt you guys. Really apologise.
Arwin, if you
Motion
happy
is
with
no
the
longer
tomato
possible,
over the
then
egg?
the force is basically translated
no, there is no
into
force,
another
Arwin.
aspect,
If you've
usually
not got
pressure.
accelerating mass, there is
So
no
yeah, if
force.
it's no longer moving, that doesn't mean there's no pressure going on.
Yes, it does. Look, if you haven't got the acceleration,
No,
you
it
haven't
doesn't.
got the F.
It's not included. It's not included. It's very nice of
Force
you to
equals
basically
ma,
point
Arwin.
at this
Come on.
oversimplified system, so you can say, "Oh, it's not working. Look, it's not in there." Ugh. Yeah,
Well, if we
but
get another
pressure does
definition of
actually
force,
count there. It does.
if we get another definition of force,
And
Arwin,
there
it's
is
going
a
to state there's
force
got to
and
be
there
a
is a
physical
counter force,
interaction,
and it
a
causes
push or a
something no
pull.
longer to be able to move, despite all
Arwin,
the
stop
forces being
rumpusing
there.
me.
Then
Listen,
pressure will
listen.
start to
Arwin,
come into
listen.
being.
Listen, mathematically speaking, you haven't got a force. And if you go with the definition of force, that requires there to be a push or a pull and an interaction. Well, the cherry tomato's got neither a push nor a pull. It's
Shout out to Stephen Walks for the super chat. Sorry to interrupt you, Anthony.
I'm not sorry about that at all.
only because it's devastating to your point.
No, it's
Either
not.
way,
You're a wanker.
mathematically, you
No
don't have
need.
an accelerated
You're a
mass,
wanker.
and literally
No
by
need, no
definition,
need,
you
no
don't have a
need.
push or a pull.
Your wife
So your
probably
little
doesn't
cherry
give you sex
tomato
anymore.
has no force,
Hold on,
Arwin.
hold
There
on,
is no
Anthony.
gravity.
Anthony, hold on. Arwin, this looks terrible on you.
Yeah. Oh, I don't give a shit.
Oh, okay. Just trying to help you out.
Yeah, well, you can help me out by basically excluding Riley when I'm on the debates. It will be much more of a help, really.
Why?
Can't sense a reality, Arwin.
Because I won't get as pissed off, because that shithead, he just keeps on doing the same shit over and over again. I
Because you
don't
keep
want to
telling
talk
people
about
there's
this
a force
shit
there
anymore.
and there's
Arwin.
not.
I've already
Oh,
explained everything as far as it can be explained.
There's
I
no
don't
forces,
want
Arwin.
to hear his shit anymore.
There's no forces, Arwin.
Right, there's no force. It's nothing. Just solipsism. That's all
No.
there is.
It's called everything's in a state of buoyancy, whether it's touching the floor or not. Everything's in a state of buoyancy because we are all in a medium. of some kind.
Buoyancy, there are no forces, there's no weight, there's no direction, but density and buoyancy, it's everything. It's everything. You love it so much.
Another shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat. Flatter day is the perfect day for mass globortions. Thanks, Earth is Seriously Flat. Much appreciate the super chats.
Say no to gravity, boys and girls.
Hold on, I'm gonna get a word in because I got one question for Riley, one question for Arwin. Riley, did you take your medication today? Yes or no?
Arwin is my
No,
medication.
no, you're Riley. I ask you, did you take your medication today? Yes or no?
Arwin is my medication.
Okay, Arwin, did you take your medication today?
No, I haven't shoved my blade up Riley's ass yet.
Come on, man.
Perfect timing. Billy Wazzer, which is Warren, said, Arwin, grow the F up, child.
Oh, because you're all over the
so
place, man.
I haven't smoked tobacco in 36 hours, so I'm slightly more agitated than usual.
Right.
We guys should learn how to
Go outside, have a
Thanks
cigarette.
for the super chat,
I
Warren.
don't
Really
have
appreciate
any.
it.
learn how to discuss
Think
better
I
without
would
yelling
like
and
this if I had cigarettes, seriously?
Right, so is there anybody that still thinks that there's forces involved, or do we have to go through it again?
I'm not going to respond to you anymore.
Yay! Well, can we
Retarded
agree?
lawyer speak
Arwin,
line of question.
can I ask you a question, Arwin?
Yeah, sure.
Arwin, can I ask you a question, brother? First of all, how you guys doing? You and Joe.
Doing good, man. It's nice to see you.
Cool.
I felt better.
Upset, Arwin, is my question. Like, I understand that you have certain views on what you're trying to argue with, but why do you get so mad? You sound like
Because
you're
I
gonna kill
haven't
somebody.
smoked it.
It's okay.
And I have to be
Like,
enduring this shit from Riley for 2 weeks now, and the stress is building. Like,
Aw.
it's very serious. I have openly
But
asked
the thing
him.
is, why do you let it stress you out? Because you're
Because he
the one
keeps
who
on
says
going even
you
if I
can't
ignore
prove it
him.
yourself.
I ignore him and he still keeps on going. He keeps on
right.
going no
Not
matter what I do.
agreeing-
If I respond, if I
not
don't respond, he
agreeing
just
with
keeps on
somebody's
going.
point of
yeah,
view.
He keeps on
It's
going.
okay.
There's not. Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with you guys going back and forth. But it's just that you get to a
Yeah, but there
point where
is
it's
no
like
back and forth. There is no back and forth. There is no
there
development.
is
There
though,
is no
because
progress.
he's looking for proof, and you say you don't have proof. So this
I don't have scientific
argument,
proof. I have plenty of evidence all around, deduction-based evidence, laws of thermodynamics.
Another shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat. The gravity of the situation, too many ball leakers. Okay.
That's why this is going to keep going around and around, because
Thanks for the
he's
super
looking for
chat,
scientific
seriously
proof,
flat.
and you don't have it.
Now I have the law of thermodynamics as a foundation.
Yeah, but you ignore
That's something you
Newton's
don't
third
even
law.
bring up. You don't even bring it up.
You
right?
ignore Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If something goes
That's
down,
right.
something else goes
Law
back
of
up. And
energy
you don't tell people
conservation
that.
is another
You
one
only
of the
tell
laws.
people the
Guess what?
down.
Where's the force coming from? What is
There is no force.
actually the source for the displacement?
The
Not
density
how
of
it's
the object
happening.
in question.
What is the source for the displacement?
It's the density of the object in question
No,
relative
that's
to
an
the medium
effect.
in
What
which
is
it
the
sits.
source of the displacement, not an effect,
Yeah.
not a
It's the
description of how
density
it is
of the
displacing.
source.
What
Arwin,
is
the
the
source.
source of the displacement?
Arwin, the
Now
source
you
is
can
the
answer.
density
I
of
know
the
you love
object
to answer
relative
me
to the
halfway
medium that
my
it's in.
sentence,
That
but you're
is
gonna
the
have to
source.
wait after I'm finished. Otherwise,
You
nobody's
have
gonna
finished.
hear it.
You're done.
We're back to the same point again, where it's either density and buoyancy from Riley's side, or something that's causing that has to be an external force on your side. But again, we're at this head where there's no further
progress,
detail
yeah.
from you. That's why I wanted to talk to you, mate, to get that further understanding. But are you
I
saying that
get it.
that's it? It's a logical deduction that it has to be there, but you can't in any way infer the causation of that additional force?
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. It's been a really good show. Thank you very much indeed, those of you who joined the show. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing the debate. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. You've probably done it already. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you have not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!